Hey guys, Darren Asbury here with Revital Outdoors, bringing you another exciting podcast tonight. Tonight we have Mr. Lance Freeman. Lance got second last year in Angler of the Year in the LBL division of the BFLs for Major League Fishing. We're going to talk to him tonight about the upcoming LBL division Kentucky Lake Tournament, kicking off the year here pretty soon for the LBL division. So we're going to talk to Lance because he did get second last year in points. He's got a lot of great history there in Kentucky, around Kentucky Barkley Lake. He went to school at Murray State University, was a college angler, so very excited to talk to him this evening. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. That way you get notified when all of our content is dropping. We have a lot of great content happening now and in the future, so please make sure you subscribe to our channel. Also, check us out, Revital Outdoors, on Instagram and Facebook. And if you've never heard of Revital Outdoors, we're a premium CBD company. We make a premium CBD product for all outdoor enthusiasts. Our products are THC-free, made right here in America. They're broad spectrum, great for all the different ailments that we endure out in the outdoors. So please check them out. Also, if you're interested in representing us on our pro staff, we have that application on our website. Again, just go to our website and find the pro staff tab, fill out that application, and we'll be happy to review that. So without further ado, let's just get right to it. I'm really excited to talk to Lance this evening. So Lance Freeman, how you doing this evening, bud?
Doing all right there and doing all right, man. I appreciate you having me on this afternoon.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, well, I appreciate you coming on board and having time for us. I know it's a busy work week, but it's always great to sit down and talk a little fishing in the evening. So, man, let's just get right into it. Really cool to see another division of the BFL starting out this year in 2022 here in the next couple of weeks. We got the LBL division on Kentucky Lake. Now, LBL, they go to all Kentucky Lake and Barkley Lake. They stay right there, so it's really interesting. That division. But tell us a little bit about your experience on Kentucky Lake. I know you had some success there last year. Obviously, when finishing second in Angler of the Year points, you got to know something about Kentucky Lake.
Yeah, most people know me anymore because of the whole carp fishing thing, and everybody here's Kentucky Lake. And obviously, that's the big issue out here is all the Asian carp. Everybody's having issues, where we used to go out and find schools with hundreds of bass. It's not the same lake as it used to be. It's still a great lake. It still holds a lot of fish, still has, and you're continually seeing every year that progressing, getting better and better right now. And we're still in a growing period. So it's great to not have any real big tournaments back here yet. Thankfully, the BFLs are about as big as it gets down here right now. So that's great. It gives these fish a chance to actually grow and become bigger and have more of them. So, looking back at last year to this year, I didn't get to go on the lake this year. I haven't had my new boat in yet, so I've kind of just been bouncing around all over the country. But, man, going from last year, looking at how things happening this year, we've had the rains, we've had the tornadoes, we've had everything through here. These fish have really kind of been thrown for a loop in the sense of weather, muddy water, cold water. Right now they're pulling a lot of current. The people I'm talking to are actually catching several fish, so that is a positive. Anytime it's Kentucky Lake, anytime they pull current, they're going to bite.
Oh yeah,
and that's what we're looking for this coming week. We're looking at the forecast. There's probably gonna be a little bit of current. That they liable to slack it off a little bit right beforehand, make it a little tougher. But all in all, coming up, the first one's March 5th. It's got a really good schedule this year. They've got an early one in March, like always. Kind of going into the summer and then one in the fall. So they've really got it set up good to actually catch some fish this year, I believe. And all this dirty water and everything we've got coming up, it'll make things interesting. I believe make it more of a shallow bite, with the water being as dirty as it is right now. That's what, like last year, almost everything I did, I looked at it this way. Coming from a commercial fisherman's aspect, it got harder and harder and harder to find those big gizzard shad. And that's where, I changed my tactics. I started chasing bluegill eating fish instead of going after the shad eaters that we've chased for years. So I started fishing a lot shallower, really just completely changed the way I fished because of basically what I had seen in the shad populations.
Right. So that's very interesting. When we think about Kentucky Lake and Barkley Lake, we always think about the deep ledges, throwing the big spoons, the Alabama rig, the big single-tail swim bait, like the Scottsboro swim bait that's 7 inches long, the DT10s, DT8s, a lot of, just big fish baits going deep on the ledges. But Kentucky Lake, I'm interested. It really does have a shallow water bite.
Oh, yeah. It's always had that. Growing up, I grew up on lake. I look at my backyard right now and see the lake. That's great. And a lot of the fact that, when I was growing up as a kid, my parents, a lot of people would drop their kids off at daycare or whatever. They could send me off on the bank and I'd go fishing all day. And I got a little older. they let me go out on the boat and troll motor only trips. Well, I live at the back of a creek. So, I mean, all I learned was to fish shallow in the backs of creeks. So, everybody else was learning Kentucky Lake, how it was Kentucky Lake. I didn't learn that style till later on in life. I was fortunate enough to have family that all fish, like I say, and friends that all fish. That's how I grew up. So, I grew up knowing both sides of these lakes. I knew the ledges on Kentucky, but I mainly grew up fishing shallow. Mm-hmm. So, when I got to college, that fed right into the fact that I could go out, I could fish places like my first big college win was on the Mississippi River, fishing backwaters and stuff. And, it's not the same lake. You almost have to completely take everything that you think this lake has done over the years, all the history, and throw it out the window just to try to do something different. And that's how, since these carp have been about and since all these fish have really changed their patterns, you have to look at it like a new lake every day. And that's how we've been. I mean, that's what relative success I've had on the lake the last couple of years has all been because I've kept an open mind. I'm not afraid to jump out on a ledge and fish for a while, and if I'm not getting bit, I'm not afraid to go right to the bank or whatever. Just keep an open mind because it only takes 5 bites and you got 8 hours to do it. So theoretically, it sounds not that bad.
Right. So, okay. So when you're fishing up shallow, are you still, throwing crankbaits? Are you still throwing reaction baits? Are you slowing down, maybe flipping? I know that Kentucky Lake doesn't have a whole lot of docks, but do those factor at all for the ones that it does have?
They do and they don't. It's kind of like this. I've got a weird concept on fish. Once I kind of almost got out of bass fishing for a couple of years and strictly went to commercial. I was gill netting these carp. I was working a lot. But I learned more commercial fishing about bass than I ever did bass fishing. And what I mean by that, you'd think, you're in a boat in a place and get it all worked up and they'd blow the fish out, so to speak. Those bass hunker down when something. They get scared, they lock up. They'll hold tight to something. And where beforehand I'd think, somebody comes in and blows something out, them fish run away. Nothing like that's going to bother me anymore. I don't let the outside factors happen. Those fish are so used to everything that goes on in the world that, alert us, but they're so used to it. Excuse me. But those fish are so used to it at this point that it doesn't really mess with them as much. So I think it's just a mental state you have to get in every time you go out there to not be set on flipping a jig or not be set on throwing a crankbait or, everything that I throw is what I feel like I should throw at that moment. And that's why everybody fishes. But I never let my practice or my preconceived notions get in the way of what is in front of me all the time. And I know I said it before, but the open mind concept coming into here, I could be going 70 mile an hour and look over and see a shad flip beside a lay down. I've been catching my shore all day. And I'm like, oh, something had to scare that little thing. He wasn't a little happy shad. Go over there and flip and probably catch a 4-pounder. I did that 2 or 3 times in the BFL last year. Be running down the lake and something catch my the clouds break for a second and the sun shines on the lay down and I run over to it. So I've just started fishing on the fly, so to speak.
Now, when you're talking about fishing shallow, are you fishing shallow water that's relating to the ledges and some deep current where those fish can, dive off into the current or the ledge really quickly, in a short amount of time, or it's just hit or miss? It's just some areas are great shallow and some it doesn't really matter.
It's almost like, I guess the way I phrase it to a lot of people, it's almost like pond fishing down here anymore. You're not fishing a pattern all the time. They're getting harder and harder to pattern. To me, somebody else could be smoking their butts on the same exact stuff every time. I don't fish it like that. I fish it like I'm looking for five random bites. And, I really like the live scope. I really like the forward-facing sonar. I use it religiously down here. The best tournaments I've had the last couple of years have been because of that. Catching fish that I would never normally fish for, so to speak, that are up higher in the water column when I am deep. It's hard to do with all the carp too, but that's really everything. I follow around with technology to the way the lake's changing. And that's what I keep preaching about, the open mind concept, because nothing that I did that morning is going to be the same at 9 o'clock as it is 11 o'clock as it is 3 o'clock. And that's always all fishing, but you can't be afraid to completely 360-degree change the way that you fished all day. Just
Right.
because you caught them that way 2 hours ago means nothing in the future.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it changed the way I fish a lot of lakes. It hurt me in some, helped me in others. But it's just like I won a BFL. First ever time I ever fished as a co-angler 2 weeks ago, I won a BFL out of the back of the boat on Lake Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
Never in my life have I ever, the way I looked at it is I've been snow goose hunting and I was tired of chasing snow geese, so I paid my $100, met with a great boater, a guy named Todd Davis, friends to this day. First thing I did, I was like, man, I'm just going to go out here and try to catch a mess of crappie for fun. Well, first 5 drops in the morning, I reached out with a crappie with a little Jinko crappie jig and catch a limit of bass. Ended up winning the tournament on a little bitty crappie jig that I've never thrown before in a bass tournament in my life. So just it's helped me in matters of I'm not worried about patterning something in so tight that I don't, veer off into doing something else.
Right, right. So, well, for this upcoming tournament, the LBL division, Kentucky Lake tournament next weekend. Obviously, you feel like there's going to be a mix of people going shallow, people maybe going to target something deep. What would you honestly do? What would you put on the deck, and how would you attack it in practice?
If I had to go out, let's pretend the tournament's tomorrow. We've got a lot of mud, water's dirty, a lot of current.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting there, and we're first of March. Those fish are going to want to go shallow. We're still in a lot of cold water temperatures right now, so that's really keeping them out. And it's kind of like last year. Last year the first couple turns went offshore on current related stuff, and I think I had a top 5 in one, and maybe a top 10 in the other, and I was that deep. I just drove in from Lake of the Ozarks at a Toyota, and I didn't have any practice, so I went with what I was confident in. What I would do if I had me being me, I'd put the stroller down. I've heard it's kind of tough. I've heard they're catching some over on Kentucky on current related stuff, breaks. I'd end up going to the bank and covering just a lot of water really quick because my mind is those shallow water fish are up there to eat. They ain't up there just to hang out with little buddies and chill out in the water. They're tired. They're tired. They've been chilled out since November down here, so they're getting ready to go up. They ought to be in places, the flatter places that are going to warm up quicker. And that's kind of how I approach this lake in March. I pretend those fish are like people. They're going to want to get warm. When they get warm, they're going to want a snack. And those are the fish that I look for. I'm not as good as a lot of those guys are at catching them offshore in the spring. It's a mental block that I have. I wish I could get over. Most time in the spring, I'm going to the bank. I go in there and I cover water. I get in the dirtiest looking water I can find, mainly because of 2 reasons. I try to get away from people for number 1, and number 2, I feel like the fish that are in there, they bite. You put it right in front of the face, whether it be flipping a black and blue jig or throwing a crankbait, whatever it might be. I feel like those fish, if you can put that bait in their face, they're going to bite it. Where, thanks to Live Scope, I know I can throw that one specific fish cast after cast after cast and not get it to bite.
Okay. So, let's just kind of mix it up a little bit in terms of maybe going deep. If an angler were to do that, obviously they're not going to be throwing the big spoon and swim bait and all that. So maybe are they throwing a jig, or if they do find something deep, what is it they're relating to, and what would you throw at them?
Most of them deep fish out here anymore are relating to shad. So I'm throwing an A-rig, I'm throwing a crankbait, maybe a trap, something reaction moving. I don't slow down enough to throw a jig in the spring offshore. I know them guys catch them like it. That's the thing. I'm just hard-headed. I want 5 chances instead of 1. So, I'm going to get out there with a little egg beater and toss it around, and I'm going to throw an A-rig at them as much as I can. Just that's a confidence thing. Most of the tournaments I've won from April and before, since the A-rig come out, it's been on the Alabama rig. So if I had to go offshore and fish down here and look for them fish, it'd be an A-rig, be a deeper diving jerk bait, a bigger trap, things like that. That's what I'd be throwing.
Okay.
And then around going shallow, kind of the same deal. I'm gonna throw an A-rig the same place I throw a spinner bait. I'm gonna grab something with some vibration if it's dirty, whether it be a chatterbait, whether it be a spinner bait or whatever it might be, crankbait, trap. Same thing. I want something with some vibration if I'm going to go to the bank early in the year.
Okay. And what about in terms of a co-angler, which you just mentioned you won your first co-angler event that you've ever fished on Lake Hamilton in the Archie division last weekend. So congratulations on that. That's really awesome. But let's say you were a co-angler in this Kentucky Lake tournament for the LBL division. What would be a few rods that you would take?
The words of my granddad, keep it simple, stupid. Like, all you need, if your guys are, hey, we're going to go fish shallow, get you a crawfish colored crankbait, something to dig around the rocks, something to get bit. Whatever your confidence is to get bit on out of the back. Like I said, I'm probably giving terrible advice, but you look at the last couple of years here, it doesn't take a lot of weight. The odds of you catching 3 5-pounders are a lot closer to none than slim. But at the same time, if you catch 40 fish, the odds of one of them being a 4-pounder out of 40 fish are pretty good. So it comes down to a confidence thing at that point. Whatever you think you can get bit on, not what you think you can catch a big one on necessarily, but whatever you think you can go and get bit on is what I'd be throwing. Because, a limit out of the back of the boat, I've learned, it goes a long way. Just statistically looking at everything, you catch 5 from the back, you've really done something. So just having that mindset to go in there and just getting bit that day can go miles. Like I say, I caught him on a crappie jig literally because I was trying to catch a crappie that day. So,
right. So, okay, well, cool. Well, Lance, you've given us a lot of great information. It's really cool to talk to you and hear about your experience on Kentucky Lake and fishing the LBL division. So that's really awesome. Growing up in the area, knowing Kentucky Lake really, really well. But before we let you go, I want to give you the opportunity to thank any of your sponsors, any of your friends, family. I know you've got a really busy 2022 year in tournament fishing. So I know there's a lot of people that support you. So we just want to give you the time to thank them.
Absolutely. And starting off with just everybody that's important in my life. I was fortunate enough in 2020 to have the opportunity to fish professionally, so to speak. And I turned that down via the Living the Dream package. I turned it down because I had other stuff I wanted to do. I wanted to fish the Tuesday nights with my granddad. So as far as thanking people, I want to thank, most importantly, my family, my friends, our good Lord. Everybody, but also the companies that I'm out there representing now. I feel like, from Bahio Sunglasses, Jinko Fishing, Horizon Track and Marine over in Clarksville, Arkansas. I'm not a big sponsors guy. I'm gonna be honest with you. I like companies that are out there for the right reason, so to speak. I'm not out there for the money. I'm not making a living bass fishing.
Right.
If I was trying to make bass fishing, I'd be on your side of the screen, not the fishing side of the screen. That's the only people that I'm not gonna say the only people. The main people that make money in the fishing industry are on the industry side, and my respect goes out to those people. But the way my mind sets up is that I want to be around the right people that are in this sport for the right reasons. I want to be around the ones that are there because, they enjoy the sport, not because they're trying to catch a check or whatever. If you're bass fishing to try to make a living, you got a rough way to go. And my hat's off to you for trying. And those that do it successfully, I have a lot of respect for those guys. But I fish because I enjoy it. So I want to thank everybody that's out there for the right reason. That's going out there to fish because they love fishing, because they love the sport, they love the community. That's who I want to thank more than anybody on this one, because those are my idols, I guess you'd say, is everybody's doing it because they love to fish. Fishing fishing in these BFLs is one of my favorite things because you meet so many people. You meet some of the best who end up being your best friends that you can text any time of the day, whenever you need to, and y'all can talk about fishing, life, whatever. That's what fishing's about to me. And so, like I say, a special thank you to everybody who's doing it because they love this sport, not because the competition or whatever it may be. It's because of the true base of the sport.
Absolutely. So, well, Lance, thank you so much for all your kind words, and especially thanking the people that work hard in the industry. It's not easy to do. We definitely don't work 40-hour weeks. I tell people all the time we work the same hours that the fish are biting, and usually they're always for me and everybody else. So,
That's right.
So thank you for that. That's awesome, man. You're a great inspiration, and I know you've been a huge advocate for the carp movement on Kentucky Lake. So thank you for your movements on that, trying to control that carp population and get Kentucky Lake back to where it needs to be. That being said, thank you for coming on to our podcast for Revital Outdoors. We hope you have a great, successful 2022 tournament season. We hope to hear from you again soon.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Y'all have a good one now.
Yeah. From all of us at Revital Outdoors, you're talking to Mr. Lance Freeman. He got second last year in the LBL division and the Angler of the Year points. He's given us a lot of advice about the upcoming LBL division tournament on Kentucky Lake here the next weekend. So thank you for joining on this podcast. Again, if you haven't already, be sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And as always, be safe out there. God bless. And we'll talk to everyone very, very soon.